was talking to a high school English teacher in late January, and we had just worked together the week before on ChatGPT, and she came back to me, called me Monday morning, and said, I'm starting in my ninth grade Romeo and Juliet lesson. I haven't taught it in 20 years. I couldn't find any of my materials that I had ready. So I went to ChatGPT and said, help me build a lesson plan, rubrics, assessments, everything that goes with it. She said, I saved 25 to 30 hours of my time last weekend by just spending an hour asking ChatGPT questions on how do I teach my lessons around Romeo and Juliet. And it's not something that she didn't know how to do. She's been an English teacher for almost 40 years. She just didn't have any of her materials anymore from the last time she taught it. And so that was huge for her on the teaching side.
You're listening to the smartsocial.com podcast. I'm your host, Josh Ochs. This is our District Talk segment where we interview district leaders to learn how they're keeping students safe on social media so those students can someday shine online. Now, let's get back to the interview.
My name is Krestin Bahr, and I am the superintendent of Peninsula School District, which is located in Gig Harbor, Washington, and Key Peninsula. We have 9,000 students, over 17 schools.
Hi, I'm Kris Hagel. I'm the Executive Director of Digital Learning for the Peninsula School District in Gig Harbor, Washington. We're a 9,000 student school district about an hour south of Seattle.
How is your school district approaching tools like ChatGPT and other AI tools?
We're a district that jumped right in late November, early December, and just realized that this was something that is going to change the way that everyone interacts online, both positive and, potentially on the negative side as well. Luckily for us, we had started working with some teachers last spring in the 21-22 school year around AI explorations and in an online course around exploring artificial intelligence. And so we had a basis and a foundation for some of those teachers. So then when ChatGPT hit the world in front of us and everybody was, shocked at what was possible, we pulled together another separate group of teachers. One of the things we did right off the bat is try and get in front of teachers before they had the instant reaction of, oh my God, this is terrible. Kids are going to cheat. And we said, hey, let's talk about the positives. Let's talk about the things we could do. And then we've spent all spring bringing those same teachers together on release days and having conversations about, what does this look like? What do you need to do to help your peer teachers? We've developed a philosophy and guidance document that will be released to staff next fall around what we as a school district believe as far as generative AI, its uses, its positives, its negatives, how teachers should interact with it in the classroom. Our teachers have vetted that. They've gone through it. They worked up last week. We met with them. They worked together on determining some information to share with their other teachers in their buildings. They'll go back and kind of lead these conversations in their buildings. So we've taken a pretty headfirst approach, jumping right in. And I think we're going to have some amazing things to show for it.
So Josh, we have just really jumped in. I personally have used ChatGPT for a couple things. I am one to experiment and not be afraid. We have some of our school board reps. And so I just jumped right in. I had graduation speech for 2023. I started with that and then I plussed it. That's a concept that we use in our school district, plussing, just like Disney pluses. We have a history of that. And even today, I'm speaking at the 8th grade graduation. I didn't know that. And so I'm going to start with ChatGPT or BART and just jump right in. That's the thing that we have to recognize. As adults, we want to put limit on things. And what we need to do is just lean into our discomfort, and as well as I do, any 12-year-old can show you like how to use it really well and how to cheat, right? And how to do all these things. And I think recognizing that, former middle school principal that I am, recognizing that and just really kind of leaning into that. And that's the way that we do things. We will have to change the way that we grade. It will have to include performance standards. It will have to, demonstration, those kinds of things. So we're going to have to take what was very comfortable. I don't know how you seem much younger than I am, but back in the day where there was just typewriters and we'd have our little white tape and we'd have to go backwards, we're in a whole new land and it's pretty exciting. I think that we should be embracing it and figuring it out with kids because it is here to stay.
Terrific. I love that answer. So the next question I have for you is, are there any positive use cases that you've heard of from students or teachers around ChatGPT?
So on the teacher one, I was talking to a high school English teacher in late January, and we had just worked together the week before on ChatGPT. And she came back to me, called me Monday morning and said, I'm starting in my ninth grade Romeo and Juliet lesson. I haven't taught it in 20 years. I couldn't find any of my materials that I had ready. So I went to ChatGPT and said, help me build a lesson plan, rubrics, assessments, everything that goes with it. She said, I saved 25 to 30 hours of my time last weekend by just spending an hour asking ChatGPT questions on how do I teach my lessons around Romeo and Juliet. And it's not something that she didn't know how to do. She's been an English teacher for almost 40 years. She just didn't have any of her materials anymore from the last time she taught it. And so that was huge for her on the teaching side. One of the most powerful use cases I've seen for students is a story that's actually come out of our alternative high school, where we have some kids that are not reading at the high school level. They may be reading at a fourth grade level or fifth grade level. And so one of the teachers there has been working with her kids to have ChatGPT take their 11th grade ELA content and rewrite it for them in a Lexile level that they would understand. And so having kids that are in 11th grade still be able to access core 11th grade curriculum, even though they're not reading at an 11th grade level yet, is really been beneficial. And so some of the things that you can do there is just going to be outstanding looking forward.
My last question for both of you is as follows. With regards to ChatGPT and other AI tools that we're all talking about, everything's a buzz. Are you changing any of your techniques for grading students and the types of assignments being used in the classroom?
I think it's too early to really put a pin in exactly what we are going to do. I think that the power of the tool will dictate our responses in terms of grading, and the use of the tool. I think we're at the bottom level of figuring out how to use. What can it be used for? How easy is it? With the idea that, yes, of course, students are going to use it for each and every assignment. We can just make that assumption. So our teachers really need the opportunity to work together, to look at their assessments, to look at their common assessments that they've built, and determine what the best standards are, and how to integrate this new AI into it. So I could give you a long list of all the things that I know that we are doing as a superintendent, and I think that would not be the right answer. Teacher voice, educator voice, and student voice. So I just see that the level of complexity of how we're going to assess students will have to change. No longer will it be okay that you can just write a short essay and then get a grade for it and not get any response back. I'm excited about the future. I really am.
Last week, I was meeting with a group of teachers and they were having these conversations explicitly, and they were from a different range of subjects all across our secondary schools. And they were talking more about how next year they're thinking much more about wanting to see students' processes rather than just the product that they generate. And so watching the learning happen and the thought processes that were taking place is going to be more fundamental to them and what they're assessing versus just the end product output. And so they were thinking through the structures that they were going to need to put in place to be able to watch throughout the timeline of a student completing work. How can they see that their thinking has evolved and their processes have evolved? More so than just having a final paper that you turn in, but what was the process that you got there to turn that in?
Thanks for listening to our smartsocial.com podcast. I'm your host, Josh Ochs. This was our District Talk segment where we interview school district leaders to learn how they're keeping students safe on social media so those students can someday launch into their future by shining online. This episode was brought to you by our smartsocial.com VIP program. It's called the Very Informed Parent Program, which helps you engage your students with teen-led video lessons. Stay one step ahead with our premium parent newsletter and discover hidden features on trending apps on teens' phones and our 54 plus live parent and student friendly events every single year. You can click on the link below to chat with one of our team members if you want a free pass to our VIP program to support your community with our smartsocial.com resources. And if you're a district leader who has a success story, we would love to feature you on a future episode. You can click the link below to reach out. Thanks so much for listening, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Have a great day.